Okay, so I don't know what I'm gonna title this, but it has something to do with gaming and black culture. And one of the things that I don't think is talked about enough is that the perception of gaming and black culture has changed a lot, and I'm really glad to see it where it is today because it wasn't like this 10 years ago. And it's awesome to me because the the last generation, the generation that's about like 30 years old now, like the I guess that would be like the millennials. They were like the first generation of black kids to start growing up with video games like that. Because the thing about it is, video games has always been kind of an expensive hobby. Um, it's one of those things where I talked about this in one of my other videos, but if you're poor, most of the time you're gonna be a generation behind. You're gonna be about 4 to 5 years behind a generation of gaming, and especially back in the beginning of gaming, generations only lasted about 5 to 6 years. So because tech was moving so fast, so like, and it's especially interesting when you see it when you're studying history, like the gaming industry when the Nintendo came out, like in the mid '80s, compared to where it was when the Genesis came out in the '90s, and then how quickly they moved from like the Genesis, and then the Super Nintendo comes out, and then all of a sudden 3D graphics are coming, and we got to make whole game consoles focusing around 3D graphics because the PlayStation came out in '94. It's like it was moving so fast. Like think about it. Sonic 2 was in 1992, 1991, 1992. One of those years. And then the PlayStation came out in '94, dog. Like you think about these generations in gaming as like they are like 10 years apart almost because the technology was advancing so rapidly. It's like I want you guys to go look at Final Fantasy 7, which is an early PS1 game. Then look at Final Fantasy 8 and Final Fantasy 9. They look about the same. But look at Final Fantasy 8, which came out at the end of that generation. And then look at Final Fantasy 10 and how it looks on the PS2. And then you realize, bro, these are 7 years apart. Like it's not even that long of a generation gap. So the reason that I'm saying that is because obviously we know economically, black people, especially in America, are still to this day, so especially back in the 80s and 90s, further back economically compared to especially their white counterparts, as we're pertaining here in America. So when you're talking about black kids being able to grow up with gaming consoles, that's not really a thing until the NES, Super NES, Nintendo 64 generation of kids. So like my mom is 44, and she grew up, her and my dad grew up with like NES. But then by the time my uncles, which is like the generation that I'm talking about, the mid 30-year-olds, their really first generation of game consoles would have been, maybe some of them played some Super Nintendo, but most of it would have been PlayStation N64. Then they would have moved on to like Dreamcast, PS2. Those would have been their childhood gaming systems, their late childhood, early teenage into late teenage gaming systems. That's what they would have been playing. So, um, when you're talking about when the shift could have been happening, it wouldn't have been until then. And then that very next generation, which are the ones that grew up with like the GameCube PS2 as like their introductory consoles, and then straight into the 360 PS3 Wii era, and then they were teenagers during the PS4 era. That's my generation, right? So we're only the second generation, and we're the ones that have taken it and gaming has been is like synonymous with black culture at this point. Like GTA RPs is like took off once streamers started doing it, and especially when black streamers started doing it. 2K's whole community is the 2K community is synonymous with black creators. The Madden community is synonymous with black creators. Like because football and basketball are black dominated sports, obviously the kids that are playing the games and the kids that are going to be the hottest when it comes to being able to create content for them are going to be the black kids because in the black community, even when gaming was kind of more taboo, like still when I was a kid, the things that you could play any sport game. So if you played even FIFA back then, like you could if it was MLB the Show, if it was FIFA, if it was Madden, if it was 2K, it was perfectly fine. Call of Duty was perfectly fine, and Dragon Ball Z games were perfectly fine. Other than that, if you got into anything else outside of that, you were kind of in the nerd category. And it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's what it is. Like you were in the nerd category if you were outside of that main group of games for the most part. For the most part is what I'm saying. Um, and that's kind of shifted on its head because anime and gaming from those kids from my generation became very very popular because there started to be this shift where it was looked at like less weird and it was like no because I think partially because Dragon Ball Z and Naruto were so cool that it was like people were into that kind of stuff. It just like they were so huge that it was like everybody was into it. So at a point it kind of gets to a point where it's like especially if all the guys are into it, once those kids get of like dating age, the guys that the girls are gonna be dating are niggas that like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto. You know what I mean? They like gaming. They like the nerd shit. The nerds, you know what I'm saying? The nerds just became. It's not that the nerds became more cool per se. It's just that like they were more available. Like every nigga was low key a nerd. Like even the niggas that you wouldn't expect were like, well, I love this shit. Like low key, like I don't really tell nobody, but I'm into this shit. Like this shit is dope. I grew up playing the game. I grew up, you know what I'm saying? So it became part of the culture. So now it's like more guys are into it, more girls are into it because a lot of girls grew up with it. A lot of girls' brothers grew up with it and they got into it. A lot of girls' dads were into gaming because it was just like the cool thing to do. And we know that when young people start doing stuff, the older people start hopping on it too. So their dads were into it, their brothers were into it, some of them grew up with it, now their boyfriends are into it, some guys' girlfriends are into it. It's just one of those things where it was a generational thing that started with like the people that are like 10 years older than us, and then our generation kind of just grew up in it and we grew up in the height popularity of it because Toonami is going on and Twitch is coming about and YouTube is coming about to where it was just normal. It was just normal. It was everywhere. It was part of us. And so now it's become a thing where it's like you have Blurred Con and you have Dream Con and you have all these black people that are coming from all different places around America and around the world. And they're going to these places and expressing like they're cosplaying and it's becoming cool in black culture. And it's like you go into people's houses and they have whole gaming rooms and gaming setups set up because it's just cool now. You know what I mean? You got people with whole manga shelves, and it's not a weird thing anymore. It's cool now. Like I remember, and this is a true story. I wish was any of my homeboys in my class. I don't think so, but my homies like Taj Alpha, they may remember this story because I told it when it happened. I remember I was in ninth grade, maybe I was in eighth. I want to say I was in ninth though. I think I was in high school. And I was telling somebody like while we were doing a project, they were saying something about games, I said something about, yeah, like honestly, at this point, like you can invite a girl over, and if y'all chilling at the house, like y'all might watch a movie, y'all might turn on the game or something. And they was like, and somebody was like, you playing the game with a girl, she come to your house. I'm like, yeah, you can turn on Mario Kart, you can turn on some, and somebody was like, bro, the bitches is not playing Mario Kart. And then we go 10 years later, and it's like everybody's playing Mario Kart. Like if you invite somebody over and you be like, I'll whoop your ass in Mario Kart, she might be like, we'll see about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a real possibility that like she into that. That's kind of like if you saw a girl that was like she invited you over to the crib and y'all turned the game, like if y'all was not, I'm not saying if it's like the first time, but if y'all been kicking it, y'all know each other and y'all turn the game on, that's not even weird no more. But that was weird when I brought it up. It wasn't weird to me because I saw where it was going. And I knew that it was like a lot more popular than people were thinking because I'm like, yo, talk to some of these girls that you talk to. Some of the girls that you talk to, I know for a fact they play the game because I've been talking to them about playing the game. Like you don't even know. Like they playing GTA, my nigga. Go to their house. They talking about it. Like it's you just don't know because you ain't asked. You know what I'm saying? You don't know because you ain't asked because you ain't looked to see. And it's like, nah, I was peeping it back then. And now it's such a big part of it to where it's just everywhere. It's like I said this to my homie Cosmic. This is like a couple of years ago. This is like a year or two ago. I was like, yeah, niggas might fuck around. That girl might beat them at the game. And he was like, on God, bro. And we was having a laugh about it. We was talking about it. We was having a laugh about it. But that was real. I was being serious too, though. I was like, yeah, seriously, like some of these girls be like, yeah, I be with my boyfriend ass at Mortal Kombat. Like, you know what I mean? Like, cause it's just part of it now. It's part of it now. It's one of those things where it's ingrained in black culture, and it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere because this new generation, like you saw 21 Savage's kid, like he had talked to him about he had that video where he recorded him. He was talking to him. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning, bro. You ain't been asleep. He was like, yeah, I'm just coming to fix me some cereal because he been up all, on the game all night. And everybody in the comments was like, passing down recipes. And it's like, yeah, because we all know that feeling. Like on the weekend, I'm not going to bed. I'm playing the game. I'm going to play the game from the time I get home. And by the time I stop and take a bath and go to bed, it's probably going to be sunlight the next day. Like we all have memories of that. But it's one of those things where like we were the first generation of kids to really start doing that. And now we're the first generation of young adults to have grown up with that being normal. And it's one of those things where like people are looking and they're saying, when did this infiltrate black culture so deeply? And it's like it infiltrated it when our parents were like, here's a GameCube. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things that like nobody saw coming because nobody stopped to take the time to realize there was like all of the kids play games now. All of them. All of them have a GameCube. All of them have a PS2. All of them have a 360. Like you're going to this was like the first generation where you were going to school and I'm being serious, like everybody had a game system. It was honestly kind of weird if you didn't have one. My homeboy Christian, like he didn't have a PS4 for the longest time. And like I remember it was like bothering him like I'm outside of the conversation because everybody got a PS4 and I need one because I got to be able to play 2K. I want to play GTA. I want to play UFC. I want to play this stuff. And I'm still stuck on my PS3. And it was like, no, that was a real thing where it was like, it was a really a big deal when people were trying to get together and what's your gamer tag and let's play the game. And you say, oh, I don't even got a PS4. Like, you started to hear Xbox versus PlayStation debates in schools. And I don't know that you were hearing that outside of the nerd circles in 2000. You know what I mean? Like, and it's one of those things where, like, the moment it starts to where the nerds can talk about it, and the nerds, and there really is no difference between the nerds, the band people, the football, the basketball. You know what I mean? Like, when there's when there's really when everybody when it's not ostracizable to any particular group, you know it's invaded the culture in a way in a sense to where it cannot be separated anymore. And I think that was the coolest thing to see and to just be right about. Because as a like when I was a teenager, like with that story that I was telling, I saw it. I just saw the writing on the wall because it was just like gaming was exploding. It was like all of us, I was so confused by it because I was like, why do y'all not think that that's a cool enough thing to do? Everybody plays the game, bro. Like, and they were really like, bro, these girls don't play the game. And it's like, yeah, they do. They'll tell you. Go ask them. It's like, it's not just the homies and it's not just these people or those people. You can invite anybody over and at bare minimum, y'all go play 2K. At bare minimum, somebody want to play Street Fighter or something because it was just cool. At bare minimum, everybody trying to hop on Call of Duty Zombies or something. It was just one of those things where it's like everybody had something. Even if you didn't play sports games, you had this game to play. Even if you didn't play fighting games, you played sports games. You played Call of Duty. No matter what you played, everybody played GTA. It was one of those things where no matter what you were gonna go through, somebody had something on some console somewhere that that everybody is like, oh, we play that. Oh, I play that. Or even if I don't play that, I know enough about it to want to play that. It's dope. I think it's dope. I just wanted to get on and talk about it because it's been ingrained now in black culture and it's not going anywhere and it's here to stay and it's bigger than ever. And I think it's dope. I just think it's dope. If you have any experiences with the shift, like if you're old enough to have seen the shift, let me know in the comments. If you have just any experiences within like your own experience of being amazed at how popular it is, or if you've grown up with it and you're just young enough to know it's always been normal for you, let me know that too down in the comments, man. Y'all just get to discussing. But thank y'all for watching. Peace.